What if your paycheck didn't have to come from a job? Imagine waking up on Monday and realizing you don't actually need to clock in for someone else to pay your bills. Sounds like a dream. But here's the part most passive income videos leave out. You don't replace a paycheck with one magical investment. You build assets that can eventually produce income without requiring you to trade every dollar for another hour of your time. And some of these assets are much more ordinary than you might expect. Let's start with number 5, a rental property. You buy a property and rent it to someone else. In a simple example, imagine the rent is $2,000 a month, but you don't get to keep $2,000. There could be a mortgage, property taxes, insurance, repairs, maintenance, vacancies, and other expenses. So the real question isn't, how much rent does it generate? It's, how much cash is left after the costs? If the numbers work, a rental property can potentially create ongoing income while you build equity over time. But it isn't completely passive. Tenants need help, repairs happen, and bad months are possible. Now number 4, a portfolio of dividend-paying stocks. Some companies distribute part of their profits to shareholders through dividends. So instead of owning a stock only because you hope its price rises, you may also receive cash distributions. Imagine you eventually build a diversified portfolio that produces $500 a month in dividends. That's $6,000 a year, before considering taxes and changes in dividend payments. But here's the catch. Dividends aren't guaranteed. Companies can reduce or eliminate them, and stock prices can fall. So this isn't a paycheck replacement button. It's an asset that can potentially produce income while your money remains invested. Number 3 is something you can build without buying a building. A digital product, an online course, a useful template, a software tool, a paid guide. Something people can buy repeatedly without you personally delivering the same work every time. Imagine spending 6 months creating a genuinely useful product. You put it online, someone buys it while you're sleeping. Then another person buys it tomorrow. That's the appeal. But again, passive doesn't mean effortless. You still need to create something people actually want. You need marketing, updates, customer support, and competition. The asset is the product. The income comes from building something that can be sold repeatedly. Now number 2, a business. This one is different. At first, a business usually isn't passive at all. You might work more than you did at your job. But eventually, if you build systems, hire people, and create repeatable processes, the business can become less dependent on your individual hours. That's when something interesting happens. You stop being paid only for what you personally do and start owning something that can operate beyond your direct labor. But businesses can fail. There's no guaranteed income, and building one requires real work. Which brings us to number 1, a diversified investment portfolio. This is probably the least exciting asset on the list, and that's exactly why people underestimate it. Instead of betting everything on one company, one property, or one business, you can invest across a diversified collection of assets, appropriate for your situation. Over long periods, investments can potentially grow and produce income. But markets go down. Returns aren't guaranteed. And replacing a paycheck with investment income usually requires substantial capital. Here's a simple way to think about it. If your lifestyle costs $4,000 a month, that's $48,000 a year. You don't necessarily need one asset generating $48,000. You could eventually have several sources contributing toward that number. Maybe investments, maybe rental income, maybe a business, maybe a digital product, maybe something else entirely. And that's the real idea behind financial independence. Not finding a magic passive income machine. Building enough productive assets that your survival isn't completely dependent on your next paycheck. Because there's a huge difference between earning money and owning things that can potentially earn money. Your job pays you for your time. An asset can potentially keep producing value after you've stopped working for the day. But there's one final thing worth remembering. You don't need 5 assets. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow. And you definitely don't need to chase every passive income opportunity you see online. One solid asset you understand can be more valuable than 5 complicated ones you don't. The goal isn't to escape work overnight. The goal is to gradually build a life where your money does more of the heavy lifting. So eventually, your paycheck becomes a choice instead of a necessity. You never really wanted the expensive one in the first place.